course, it is the first official Monday in the month of May. Hello, everyone, and welcome to Frontier Opening Bell. I'm ringing the bell here in Lagos, not just for myself, but also for Tuletu, my colleague in South Africa. Tuletu, hope you had a very great weekend.
Hi, Bosun. It was a lovely weekend. Finally managed to have a bit of a rest. And yes, we are looking forward to the week ahead.
Now, this week looks very packed from what I saw you sent in over the weekend for the week. It looks like a very busy week on the economic front in Southern Africa, from inflation to Reserve Bank data, as well as the PMI for the month of April. Quite a whole lot to walk through. So I'm just going to jump in straight to review the final day of last week. In terms of the markets, you can see Nigerian market up by 0.83. The banks are back in high trading, as well as consumer goods and insurance, as well as some industrial big names as well. The BRVM down by 0.33%. I'm sure the team, the BRVM are in South Africa, the GSE for their roadshow, which starts tomorrow. Then you have the Egyptian stock market starting a very solid 3.3% on Sunday, and I checked the numbers to see the start of the market week in Cairo. The Nairobi stock market now at half a quarter of a percent last week, Friday, and then South African GSE up by 0.5%. So that's just a summary of where we finished off last week. Just give you a reminder, as it were. But let's get into East African, Central African proper, because President Ruto over the weekend asked the education minister to postpone indefinitely or until further notice the resumption of schools, and students are not able to go to school because of the flooding. At least 200 folks are already reported dead in Kenya because of the flooding. And of course, we've got some good news, however, over the weekend also, that the Hurricane Idaya are coming from the Atlantic Ocean towards Tanzania and a few other countries in East Africa had subsided a little bit, but there's still going to be a measure of rainfall coming through in Tanzania, Kenya, and a few other countries around that region. We wish everyone safe, and we commiserate with those who've lost their lives and their families in this flooding in Kenya and elsewhere. Portland Cement, in economic news of Tanzania, is reporting 390 Tanzania shillings as cash dividend to shareholders for the year ended December 2023. All Africa Media and Afrexim Bank hosting a leaders summit from May the 8th to 10th in Nairobi, Kenya. And Tanzania has lost its iconic finance minister, Mustafa Mkolo. We commiserate our condolences to his family. He'll be sorely missed, leaning on his experience and all that he did in the previous administrations in Tanzania to get the economy up and running. The Kenya Revenue Authority has slammed about 773 million shillings fine of tax on ECP Kenya. That's emerging capital markets, emerging capital partners of Kenya, over the sale of the chain store, which was a Java House. And Gabon is holding last week held a roadshow in New York just to woo international investors because its dollar bond falter at the global marketplace. Gabon is looking for every dollar here and there to shore up the country's finances. Let me quickly walk you through West Africa. We've got a new listing on the NESD OTC securities markets in Nigeria. Das Impressive Baccalaureate, one of the oldest construction companies in Nigeria. It was registered or incorporated back in 1975. It's now gone on the NESD OTC as a listed company. Today, we're expecting a virtual meeting between the new head of the SEC and the crypto community as Nigerian authorities crack down on crypto trading and those who are doing mobile money operators and all of that in the news. The central bank asking banks to close close to 2 million accounts or so that were linked to cryptocurrency trading in the first quarter. Yeah, all that in the news. If you want to read more up on that. And we've got GTCO, the parent company of GT Bank, reporting the highest quarterly profit ever in Nigerian banking history since independence, roughly 600 billion naira in the first 3 months of this year because of its massive investment in securities. Fitch Ratings raised Nigeria's long-term default rating to positive from stable, while the BRVM is launching its commodity exchange at the GSE tomorrow, May the 7th. And finally, Senegal. IMF has cut the growth forecast for the country because first gas delivery from its GTE has been delayed till October. That's a $5 billion project. Let's go on to Southern Africa. That's where to let you be coming in a couple of minutes, because we've got a whole lot of story to deal with this. S&P Global says South Africa banks may lose about 74 billion rand due to bad loans or default from customers. Transnet CEO still talking up the company, saying at least 170 million tons of goods will be moved by rail over the next 12 months, says the earnings will surprise to the upside. That's what she said over the weekend. Zimbabwe's Finance Minister Mthuli Ncube is looking at a full convertibility of the new currency, the ZiG, while the Port of Antwerp is working with Namibia to build the first ammonia and hydrogen facility with the Namibian Ports Authority. It's going to be the first of its kind in sub-Saharan Africa. The currency in Zambia is a problem for President Ichilema and his team. The drought that is happening in the country is worsening the state of the currency so far since January started. And another big accounting firm, PwC, is exiting Zimbabwe. And those are the headlines on this side. Let me throw this over to Neto. Ring the bell in Southern Africa. Take it up, my friend.
Thank you so much, Boasen. Yes, the week in review was incredibly busy. We know that BHP Group is still hunting for Anglo. And at the same time, the presidency has come out rejecting the narrative, the emerging narrative around the proposed BHP Billiton Anglo-American transaction as being bad for investor confidence. Ramaphosa has noted with concern that the transaction between BHP and Anglo-American, that some analysts and the sections of the media have said that market activity suggests that there is no vote of confidence in South Africa. And you know, the presidency came out firing last week to say there is no hostile environment in the country. They even mentioned a number of investment projects that are currently underway in the country. Another interesting issue last week is that South Africa has had no load shedding for 40 days. Eskom announced that it has managed to keep the lights on for more than 30 days. The whole of April, the country did not experience any rolling power blackouts. Of course, opposition parties have come out to say this is an election ploy and that immediately after elections, the lights will go off again. But I interviewed the Minister of Electricity yesterday, and the minister actually mentioned all the projects and the reforms that have been underway since he took over as the minister last year in 2023. He basically said that there have been big progress made in implementing those reforms that were in the Energy Action Plan, and that going forward, they expect South Africa to actually experience less and less load shedding as the year goes. Also in South Africa, elections 2024, South Africa's largest labor union confederation, COSATU, has thrown its weight against the ANC. The Labour Federation and the ANC have been at odds over the recent years, but at the latest meeting, the union voiced its support for the ruling African National Congress. As we know, COSATU is a member of the Tripartite Alliance, together with the ANC and the South African Communist Party. Also last week, the Reserve Bank of Zimbabwe kept its policy rate stable at 20%. This comes around a month after the country introduced the ZiG currency. Zimbabwean authorities continue to take a remarkably positive view on how the revamp of the country's financial sector is going. The Zimbabwe's Reserve Bank MPC noted that the 2024 monetary policy statement was well received by the market and is expected to ensure lasting stability, certainty, and predictability in the exchange rate. The policy rate stance being maintained at the first MPC meeting of the ZiG era included that currency policy rate at 20% and the interest rate corridor rate at 11 to 25%. Just a quick note, Bloomberg last week reported that Coca-Cola is gearing up for a potential initial public offering of its African bottling business as soon as possible. And of course, we saw South Africa's manufacturing PMI numbers come out last week, coming for above the 50 neutral point, suggesting that the country is slowly moving into expansionary territory.
Very interesting. Very interesting. I love those headlines, as it were. Quite a whole lot packed in there. And I'm sure some of these stories, these headlines will inform market direction trading as we start the new week, as expected. But again, we've got the first full week in May here at Tuletu, and I'm trying to understand what do you think. Some of the headlines, I saw the list and I look at the calendar week and I just said, wow, this is a whole lot to follow through and digest. I will give me a couple of these down, by the way. I'm sure our viewers can read up the rest. Give me your top focus.
Just a few. From a very busy last week to an even busier current week, the PMIs are coming out this week, from Mozambique, Uganda, South Africa, Kenya, and Zambia. You mentioned that the West African Regional Stock Exchange will be hosting its flagship investor roadshow at the JSE on Tuesday and Wednesday. The guest country this year is Cote d'Ivoire. As we know, the investment day aims to foster strategic dialogue with international investors on investment opportunities in the West African Economic and Monetary Union. On the 8th, Namibia's April inflation numbers will be printed. We'll also be looking out for Mauritius and the Seychelles inflation numbers. South Africa will publish its reserve numbers as well. And on Friday, Mozambique will publish the inflation numbers.
Very, very interesting. Thank you so much. I also saw the DRC rate decision. That's very interesting as well, Tuletu. Thanks for bringing that in from Central Africa. Bringing everyone on board, have a very wide angle view of the entire African continent we cover here on FAR. Thank you so much, Tuletu, for bringing that in. Just to sum it up and summarize it and finish it up in North Africa, where Fitch has raised Egypt's credit rating outlook to positive from stable. That sounds very similar to what Niger also got late last week from the same rating agency. Morocco has pushed China, Japan, India out of the way as the leading car supplier or exporter to the European Union. And it's some big news that surprises everyone. How did Morocco in North Africa, of course, become a major car exporter to the European Union? But of course, it's no wonder, because Morocco had been consistent in making sure that it has an enabling business environment that supports automobile manufacturing in the country. So you've seen a number of EU car manufacturers setting up their businesses and their factory plants in Morocco, where labor is cheap, they've got electricity, they've got a few other incentives, and they're able to maximize that. And all that is helping Morocco's export numbers, and we expect to see this coming through in the next few months when we see the core data. But good news there. US-Africa Business Summit is taking place in Dallas, starting from today till Thursday for 4 days. Nigeria's Vice President Shatima is representing the country's president at this very important summit. It's the first in the new year, being hosted by the Corporate Council on Africa, which will be opening up opportunities and discussing business investments between North Africa's biggest economy and the continent. We'll have African leaders and others, business leaders, policymakers, and others, investors, to attend that very important meeting. And finally, the EU has pledged about 7.4 billion in euros to support energy's transition, green economy in Egypt. Those are your headlines. Let's leave it there for today. Tuletu, thank you so much for being part of it this morning.
Thank you, Boston.
Of course, keep it warm there with a cup of tea or coffee just next to you over there. Keep it warm. I can see it's all getting cold over there. We're still managing about 32, 34 degrees centigrade here in Nigeria. I'm sure weather conditions in different in South Africa, isn't it, in Joburg? How cold is it? Tell me.
Well, it's not winter yet, but we can feel that autumn breeze getting cooler and cooler every morning.
Mm.
So you'll see the sweats and the jackets out in preparation for winter. But our winters do get to the negative numbers, which is not something that is usual across the continent. So yes, we're all excited for winter.
Yeah, look, I wish you folks all the best. I'm not touching down there until November. So, but the sun
Yes.
will be up. I enjoy the sun in Cape Coast, in Joburg, and all of that. I'm going to enjoy that. In the meantime, stay warm and have a great week ahead. Thank you so much, Eteletu, and to all our viewers in Africa and around the world watching Frontier Opening Bell. Have a great week, everyone. Bye for now.